Okay, and we're live.
So exciting. Oh my god. Oh, I'll do my opening bit. You ready?
Wait, I haven't, but I gotta reveal us. Are you ready to be revealed?
Should I do just that like tease thing at the beginning?
Yeah, but I haven't. It's still on the like starting soon screen. Let me get the link though. Put it in the Discord.
I know.
I haven't. It's still on the like. Okay, Gucci. And okay, I'm going. 3, 2, 1.
On today's episode of the Glue Guys, we will discuss the absolute beatdown that happened in Brooklyn to the Milwaukee Bucks. Welcome back to the Glue Guys. This is Mike here. Say hello, Brian.
Hello.
Check us out on Twitter at BKGlueGuys, netsdaily.com, The Athletic. Get yourself behind that paywall. Go to theathletic.com/glueguys. Brian?
You think I am, Mike? Celine Dion let me hang out there like that?
Well, I had brought up our YouTube page as you were doing that, and it's a delay, and I was like, what is happening? There's a cacophony.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Brian Egan.
There's a lot going on with all this apparatus.
Blessed to you, sir. How are you today? How are you tonight?
And blessed to you. You know, a thing people say. blessed be. Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm fired up. I'm in my this hot little office, just feeding off the furnace of Nets basketball that I just watched. Wow.
Fantastic.
Wow, Mike.
We are recording this directly after the Nets-Bucks game. Game 2. Possibly the foretelling game of the series. We're also streaming live on YouTube, something that we're doing with a greater frequency. Jump in with the YouTube.
Yes.
Links in the Twitters.
Yes.
Get in that chat. We'll be mining ideas from that chat, but brag guy.
Yeah. I mean, we can start with Matt Parker. Shout out to friend of the show, Matt Parker. So we really need to work on our ... bench celebrations. Can't find any flaws. Mike, do we need to look for flaws from tonight's game? Is that part of our civic duty as podcasters and representatives of the coastal media elite?
I don't want to start with flaws, Brian, but if we do, it's Mike James.
What I'm trying to say,
about Mike James later.
Well, really, wow! This was the game where I was like, I finally think I found my Mike James love. I found.
Oh, is that right?
Well, I mean,
let's really not start the show.
Let's not.
With Mike James
We're gonna bury the lead pretty badly there. Where do we start, Mike? Help me out.
I think we start at just. So there's like a lot of layers to this, and we're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about who stood out and who didn't play as well. But with the Nets, it was basically everyone played phenomenal. With the Milwaukee Bucks, it was like everyone sucked. I'm going to ask you one big question to start, and then we'll dive into the game.
Great.
How much does a blowout matter in a 7-game series? How much does this impact the psychology of another team, the mental makeup of them, the fact that the Milwaukee Bucks just got blown out, and they got blown out to such a degree that what we had like Thanasis Antetokounmpo in at the 9-minute mark of the fourth quarter. So. How big of a deal is a blowout?
The Grim Reaper for any Bucks game is when Thanasis comes out. I don't typically go too deep on like psychological memes about blowouts, especially teams of this kind of caliber. But I will say that I think that the Bucks have a very real problem in a systemic way. I was tweeting in Game 1, Mike. You may have saw. I never do that, but I had to. Like, I was at a party and was like a little bit toasty and I was like, I'm feeling for the first time. I'm feeling confident about a 3-sentence long, just a very unironic thought kind of tweet. You know the type.
Typically it's great to get on Twitter when you're drunk.
Yeah,
that is it's usually the best way to start.
It's pretty much the only time I do. And anyways, what I was said, and I stand by my drunken thoughts. Then, as despite what was happening after Harden went out, I think that in the series, which we didn't talk about Game 1, maybe we can a little bit, but in the series, there's some very significant systemic problems here that the Bucks are going to really have a hard time with, and it was pretty obvious Game 1 and how it's been exposed. That wound's been pried open. It's wide agape. It's a big problem. So we can get into all that, but I mean, like, in terms of like psychological things, like, I don't know, maybe, but to make matters worse, there's some basketball problems here that they got in their hands.
Well, I think it's an incredibly big deal, specifically because of who the Nets' opponent is. Because the Nets' opponent is the Milwaukee Bucks, the team that has been, over the past 3 years, has been the best regular season team over the past 3 years, and has flamed out, not like Haley's Comet, like Joseph's Comet, the famous comet that flamed out early. Joseph's, not Haley.
Is that true? Is that
Haley Joel Osment's comet? No, I mean this team. So they obviously lose in dramatic fashion the Miami Heat last year, and they go into that Miami Heat series. They sweep the Heat, so it seems like they got over this psychological hurdle. And even Giannis had a comment during the series where he said, "We didn't want to play with our food," and that's why they swept the Heat. So maybe they were coming in with a different mentality. I think that was the fear for Nets fans. And then they get smashed.
Yeah, they're like, in this series, we wanted to smear the food all over our faces. We wanted to ruin the food and play with it to the point where it ruined everything. Yeah,
like a 2-year-old eating birthday cake. That's what they're doing.
Yeah,
just there's no pattern.
Yeah,
just thrown in the air.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a big deal. I mean, obviously a blowout indicates that one team on one particular night was just vastly superior, and I am a point differential acolyte. I pray to the point differential gods, and I believe that how much or how little points you give up in terms of relation of your opponent over the course of a season indicates how good of a team you are. And the Bucks actually, I think, had the best one in the Eastern Conference. If you put up, what was it, a 39-point victory tonight, Bri?
I lost count. I can't count that high.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's indicative of the Nets are, not only are they shooting the ball extremely well, which they are, the Bucks shot, I think, better throughout when their starters were in this game than they did in game one. So, like, sort of the fear of progression didn't happen. This is huge. Giannis at the free throw line is now a massive factor in the series.
He's got the full-blown yips here at this point, which you love and hate to see. You feel for the guy because you don't love to see the you don't. You're a sick
He's
puppy.
The opponent.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to care for them.
The problem with the yips is that it's about like performance anxiety. I always just, I don't know, I'm sympathetic.
You're sympathetic to performance anxiety.
Damn it, Mike. This show brought to you by Roman. Come on.
You're not always perfect, but if you want to be perfect in the bedroom, go to Roman.
Yeah.
Roman.com/glueguys. Get yourself set up.
Is that actually a read? Up. Is that a read for this?
That is a read. That is a read that I do.
Wow.
And I support, hey, get yourself right. If you can get yourself right, get yourself right. Giannis even did the thing where I think it was in the third quarter when he had 2 free throws. He missed the first one, and he walked all the way to the hoop and sort of like grabbed the rim just to like get a feel for the rim again, just to like understand like the ball is supposed to go into you. He was grabbing it and then went back to the free throw line. I actually think he hit the free throw. I mean, this is you can extrapolate as much as you want, right? You can say it doesn't mean as much. That it was just a blowout. The Nets had an amazing game. Watching it, though, you talked about systemic. Watching it, there was this 7-minute stretch in the second quarter when Brook Lopez was on the floor that the Nets with Bruce Brown, Brook was guarding Bruce Brown. The Nets were just screening with Bruce Brown. He was screening for Kyrie, KD, and Joe Harris. And everyone knows this, but the way Brook plays defense is he doesn't hug up on a screen. He doesn't blitz a screen. He drops towards the basket, which leaves a gaping hole if KD, Kyrie, or Joe Harris gets around the screen and they shoot an open 3 and they make it. I mean, and it's the type of thing where like that's how the Bucks defense is built. And the Nets were exploiting that defense.
Yeah.
They weren't going to the hole. They were just shooting open jumpers. And the Nets are so damn talented that if the Bucks don't change, and this is really the biggest thing, the Bucks need to make a massive change to fix this series. They can't just, in Budenholzer's, the Bucks just can't keep doing the same exact crap that they've been doing if they want to win the series. If they just keep letting Brook drop back, if they keep having Giannis dribble the ball at the top of the key and then try to charge his way to the hoop and have no flow of offense, this is done. Done.
I'll say that, like, you know, I'll take the other side of the ball of this 40-point blowout or whatever, because, you know, this is happening on both sides. I think the real, like, systemic thing here too is that the Nets actually can just straight up D this team pretty succinctly.
Shocking.
Yeah,
Kind of shocking for me, but yeah.
I'll even go down the line, like Kyrie on Drew Holiday. Those minutes are working. Like Blake / KD
Drew
on
Holiday hasn't done anything.
He has done nothing. He had one bank shot, you know, out of his butt, and that was it. That was all he did all night. The KD and Blake Griffin minutes obviously are working very nicely on Giannis at the moment, as we predicted. Like, here's the thing about the Giannis situation, and to your point, like that this is something that needs to just like something needs to change for them. Is that like in an offense that is built upon a guy with those specific kind of flaws in his game, like you can plan for it. Basically, they're just sagging off, and even Marv Albert at one point in this game had like a pretty brutal call out, which is like, who's responsible for Giannis's decision making here? Is it that he's such a big star that the coaches can't tell him that shot is bad? It's a low percentage, ineffective, bad shot, and it's ruining their offense. Like Marv was seriously going. I mean, he's, you know, I was saying he's in the Twitch stream. Shout out to the Twitch fellows. You know, he's just burning bridges. Marv's like, I'm retiring him out. I'm just gonna dump. You know, Bud, you're going onto the bus. Who cares? You know, I don't care anymore. But yeah, it was one of the more fiery takes I've ever heard from Marv Albert. He's usually a toe the line kind of guy.
And even like there again, analysis. That's what we do here. That's what we're paid to do.
That's right.
Analyze the game to a granular level and extrapolate it out even further than that. But what a joy it was to watch this game. There were multiple moments throughout the game where it was like, this is a celebration. It's only up 2-0, and like, yeah, we can be the whole like, let's keep it in perspective. We can do that podcast if we want. Let's enjoy the game. Blake Griffin dunked on Giannis in the most delicious fashion during the game. The memes are active and alive.
Yeah.
Detroit Blake versus Brooklyn Blake is a massive. It's Magikarp v Gyarados. It's just a different a different beast.
Yeah.
And he's been phenomenal.
This is like a rushing nesting doll of Trojan horses. Like he was he was Trojan horsed of like being ineffective to like fairly effective on the Nets, and now we like Trojan horsed him into the playoffs as like our third best player, mate, or like fourth best
like
player.
Rodman.
Yeah.
He's like Dennis Rodman, circa 1997.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Was that the best Rodman?
Spurs years. You want to catch him in the Spurs years. Yeah. That's the best. That's optimal. Yeah.
So one of the key moments to me in the game, it was end of the third quarter. Let me make sure it was actually the end of the third quarter before I say that, because I think it was. Yeah, end of the third quarter, clock's ticking down. Kevin Durant has the ball, okay, and it was like 27 seconds left, so he knew he's like, I'm essentially taking the last shot of the quarter. Giannis D's him up. Giannis steps up to say, I'm going to take KD on this final possession of the third quarter. The game was probably like a 20-point something game at that point. KD goes between his legs 3 times, drives past Giannis, goes past all the rest of the Bucks defenders, and like slips in a beautiful little layup. And then the Bucks throw up a terrible shot, and you know the horn sounds and all that stuff. And KD recognized in that moment, I have the other team's best player on me right now. I can do something to make him feel bad about himself, and I'm gonna do it. Like he didn't pass the ball. He took that moment, and I mean, I really do think the Nets players know that if they get inside Giannis's head, and I'm not saying that's necessarily happened, I just think that's kind of who Giannis is. But if they get inside his head and make him doubt himself, this is done. Because the rest of Chris Middleton, more like Chris Littleton, Drew Holiday, more like Drew work every day, not go on a holiday.
Yeah.
You know,
no fun there.
Who else is on the scrub? Bryn Forbes. I did this joke on Twitter.
You did this.
Bryn Bloomberg Business Week. Bobby Portis, more like there's nothing you can do with that.
There's something there. We'll workshop that one. I 100% agree, and I'll even so. This is my more like memey take. This is sort of more on the Skip Bayless spectrum, if you'll allow me that.
I've always compared you to Skip. Yep.
It's not. It's apt. One of the things that I quite liked, or just like a thing to note, is that KD and Kyrie are gamers. They're gamer bros all the way. There's moments in which Giannis looked disconnected and like he wanted to take contested threes, and Drew Holiday and Chris Middleditch were doing their own thing, and but nobody was like living. Like KD was like ragdolling that entire game. Like everywhere you look, he's just like flailing and eating massive shit, and like it pains you to watch because he's our special boy, and we don't want that to happen to him. But at the same time, you love to see it that he's like, kind of living and dying out there. That's he's living his best life ultimately.
Yeah, and it was like, so this is a classic game. Going into this game, the Nets were the favorite, and then it switched to the Bucks. The betting line switched. Bet MGM if you want to bet. We have a deal with The Athletic. It's a great thing. Just jump in. There's probably some offer code. Actually, you can get like a free 3 or 6 month subscription at betmgm.com. You can bet in New Jersey on BetMGM. This is an organic ad. This is what that is. But
I love those.
Bucks, the Bucks were the favorite going into Game 2. And this is like the classic. The Nets beat the Bucks in Game 1. The Bucks didn't shoot well in Game 1. They're going to shoot better in Game 2. You're not going to get 18 points or whatever it was from Mike James that he scored in Game 1. So all those like little things be like, oh, the Bucks are definitely going to win Game 2. And of course, the Nets don't have Harden. And so this was a crucially important game. The Nets protected home floor, right? So they did what they were supposed to do. They were the better team all year from a record position, but only by a game. They protected home floor. But this was a game that was very dangerous game for the Nets. And Kev, as you said, Durant and Irving are gamers. And they came out and like Kyrie had this stretch I think it was like at the beginning of the fourth where he had like back-to-back threes and both of them were just heat check threes. And it was kind of that moment. Like I think it was basically the nail in the coffin for the Bucks, and what a terrible coffin that would be. Yeah. Like it's like the wood you get from IKEA, like that board wood that like it's not even
what is
just
it?
Like particle board.
Yeah, Swedish Lies. That's what I call that.
Swedish Lies. Yeah. Great Eagles album, Swedish Lies. Tell you what, I love that. It was acoustic. It was real to the heart and to the bone and to the core. If the Nets players were Eagles songs. Go. Who's Hotel California's Kyrie, obviously.
Man.
Lion Eyes.
Do I
KD.
have any? That's all I have. I think those. You stole the only ones I know.
Silverado or what's Desperado? That's James Harden. That's it. That's what we got. Brian, give me your favorite player from the game.
It's really hard to argue that Blake Griffin hasn't, like, his resurgence in, I mean, it's a combination Game 1 and Game 2. I mean, obviously, KD and Kyrie and everyone has been excellent, but just to see, I mean, I doubled over in ecstasy, maybe, for when he dunked on Giannis. I mean, I don't want to get graphic here, but it was a graphic situation. I mean, it was so cathartic. It was just such a lock and load dumping of a special kind. And this team, like we haven't had like good dunkers on this team in a while. So, just having him turn that storybook back open and be that player again has just been a true joy in this series. So like, I mean, it's a meme take, but I mean, hard not to say Blake Griffin at this point.
Yeah. I mean, Game 1, he was better. I guess overall he was more impactful, but his moments in Game 2 were so extraordinary. Yeah. I mean, the dunk is it's just so ridiculous. He didn't dunk in Detroit. He's one of the greatest dunkers in NBA history. He declined to not being a dunker in Detroit and then comes to Brooklyn and is just raining hellfire on top of people's skulls at a constant rate. Bruce Brown for me, I mean, I'm not saying he's my favorite player, but if we're going like, what's your favorite Steven Soderbergh movie? Bruce Brown is like a Steven Soderbergh movie, underappreciated.
Sure. Sure.
I love what he's doing on the floor. One, again, we talked about the screening. When he's on offense, he screens because Brook is on him. That was like not in the box score impactful, right? Because that Nash had a plan coming out. He's like, we're going to put Bruce Brown in the game. We know they're going to put Brook on him. And if they put Brook on Bruce Brown is like sneakily one of the best screening guards in the NBA. Mm-hmm. We'll screen with Bruce. We'll get Joe and Katie and Kyrie open. And also, he's done this all year. He attacks the places on the floor that a lot of guys don't want to go to, that the stars certainly aren't like really attacking. He just fits in a really, his heat map is it's not quite a hurricane. It's like those summer thunderstorms. They're spotty. You don't really know where they're going to hit.
Yeah.
It could be raining here in Montclair, or it could not be raining in Summit. New Jersey for you. Is that a New Jersey geography?
I thought you were in Montclair. It rolled off your tongue so easily. Wow.
Let's do this. A quick break.
Okay.
Coming back, there's going to be so much. We have so much more to discuss. What a game.
Quite a game.
What a game. And we're back. I really got to say, people got to get into the YouTube, and if you can't figure out how to get into it, one, search Glue Guys on the YouTube, and our episodes will pop up. Also, by saying the YouTube is maybe not the best way to say it, because when Brian and I do our break, it's a real joy. You'll actually get to see how the
sausage is made,
how the pork roll is made.
Yeah. Wow. Are you in New Jersey? This is just.
I'm in New Jersey. I'm in a pork roll factory. Yeah. I'm in what's Taylor Ham.
You're the Taylor Ham factory. Right now.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's no noise canceling on Zoom is great. There's just meat grinding.
Yeah.
So we talked about like, does the blowout matter, right? And I'm not quite like at the level of like, what's your game 3 prediction, but is what the Nets are doing sustainable? Do you think what you've seen so far, do you feel like the Nets have figured out, like, even if the series turns into a 6-game series and it's tough, or 7-game series even, it feels sustainable what the Nets are doing?
Well, if totally, and if the Bucks don't adapt like pretty significantly, and I don't know what exactly that looks like. I think for me, it looks like stop giving Giannis the ball at the top of the key like you've been doing over and over and over again to not great effect. Like,
the thing is, they don't have anyone else.
Is Drew Holiday not capable of running that offense? Like,
he's not. Yeah. That's always been the thing about Drew Holiday, and I love Drew Holiday dearly. Okay, but he's not. He's a point guard, but he's not. He's never been a guy who's just like running the offense, right? Mm-hmm. So I will give Budenholzer this out, where it's like, where else do you go at this point?
I can't believe it that Drew Holiday has that limitation, because really it's a problem, because Giannis has tunnel vision on doing 2 not great things, which is his drive is not getting past Blake and KD with enough efficiency. It's just not. He's getting stuffed into no man's land and then taking contested mid-rangers, which is exactly what everybody in the deep analytics space would say is the best possible outcome, especially of a player of that caliber. So, that's what needs to change. Like, he needs to be more of a slasher, in my opinion, if he can possibly manage it, where that, engineering comes from a leadership position leading that offense. I don't know. I guess it's not Drew Holiday. I guess it's nobody. I guess give it to Brook Lopez. I don't know who, but it's a problem. So, like,
I don't know. I mean, my thing is, if I'm Budenholzer, I almost have to take Brook out of this series almost completely. Yeah. I think they're gonna watch I'm sure he saw it in the moment. They're gonna watch the film and realize Brook, like the gaping hole, because of the way they use Brook on offense or on defense. It was just being exploited. It was like a tax loophole that a Trump organization was just exploiting so that they got money from the government and they didn't have to pay taxes on anything. It was that gaping. And that's why, like, to link back to the original question, how big of a deal was the blowout? The Nets played amazing and the Bucks stunk, but it's the systemic thing that you talked about.
Yeah.
And it's a key word, because the Bucks play a system. Mm-hmm. They play a defined system. They had more creativity in their system this season. They had more sort of lineup creativity than usual. But Budenholzer plays a system.
Yeah.
And particularly with Giannis, which, like, he's a 2-time MVP and he's amazing and all that stuff. But the way he has to play, he only can play a certain number of ways for him to be effective. And if you play a system and that system is completely running up against a buzzsaw that is the Brooklyn Nets, you're kind of screwed. I don't know. Are we just high off our own supply right now, Brian?
Yeah, I'm trying to
game 2 buzz.
I'm trying to make sure that I have the right takes here, despite being completely off my rocker on Nets inhalants. But it's hard for me to like not say like this is like all of what was happening in game 1 that was going poorly was just exacerbated in game 2 to like really nasty effect. And so if game 3 there isn't some like radical change of which you and I can't come up with that gets like way off their standard operating procedure, which is usually not a great place to have to be to win a series, it's not going to be good. And then like, you know, so I'll say this, like with the psychological memes that we were sort of getting at, I'll say that the like Giannis at the free throw line is the one that I am a believer in. And so like that's kind of an option for us too, is like a hacky Giannis like meme is in there too. If for some reason, you know, this gets actually dicey in game 3 or whatever, like now we can extort that psychological weakness that, you know, I don't want to, but Mike, maybe you would. Maybe that's something you would want to do. And not to say that that's like a, you know, an emergency lever that like solves all of our problems, but like we've got pretty obvious easy options in a pinch that they don't maybe have the same kind of deal on their side, Mike.
Yeah, and that's the sort of thing where like Nash has more options to go to if he needs to, where Budenholzer is just in a state of desperation. And again, the Bucks, it's not only that, so Seth Partnow from The Athletic, who used to be the director of analytics for the Milwaukee Bucks, so I think he knows what he's talking about when it comes to the Milwaukee Bucks. He wrote a really good piece on The Athletic, and if you want to read it, go to theathletic.com/glueguys, get yourself behind that paywall. It was about sort of like, it was just game 1. It was the effective field goal percentage and what actually happened, basically. And the Bucks weren't that far off from their effective field goal percentage. And the thing that the Nets were doing was that the Nets were forcing more sort of just pull-up shots, self-made shots, non-assisted shots. The Nets forced the Bucks to do that, which is essentially saying the Nets forced the Bucks to be much more one-on-one than they had been during the season. And so in game 1, everyone was like, oh, they missed a bunch of threes. Oh, my Lord, they're going to shoot better from 3 in game 2. Well, they actually weren't taking that bad of threes and whatever. Game 2, they still weren't good. I mean, they scored 86 points. And again, I don't want to feel too like how do we handle this, Bri? Do we feel is there too much confidence running through us right now? Is that our weakness? Too much? Are we Achilles?
Maybe. And I kind of want to go back now and watch some like of the Heat Bucks series to see like what exactly was so different here, because these are not like our defensive strategies aren't super complicated. Like there's not like we're not working some like secret magic here. Like Bam Adebayo could or should have been able to do of exactly what Blake Griffin has done in this series. So like, that's where I'm like, what is this just like a wildly bad shooting situation that they're in? I mean, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels like this is all very purposeful.
Well, and I don't know like the fast break stats for the Bucks usually. Like I don't know if they're like an elite fast break team. But what is happening is because the Nets are shooting so good from the field that it's just every possession is not a fast break for the Bucks. It's they take the ball out, they dribble down the court, and then when the defense is set against Giannis, you have the wall up, everyone knows what's happening. There's Giannis again, he's very quick, but it takes him like 3 seconds to decide, I'm going to go to the hole now.
Yeah.
So because the Nets are shooting so well, and because the Bucks defense is playing so out of character in terms of, they used to be really good and now they suck. It's just like eliminating 15 points that the Bucks would normally have off a fast break. Again, I'm not looking at the numbers, but there was never a moment. There was one moment where like Nets miss a shot. Bucks go down fast break. Middleton steps in for a three and hits it. And I was like, oh, that's what the Bucks are about. That's what they should be doing. And let's just don't give them opportunities to do it. They're playing defense through their offense, Brian. That's what they're doing.
Do you want to talk about
Are
James
the Nets
Harden?
better without Harden?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I knew it. I could hear it clicking into place in the artillery.
Did you see the video that
of your
Sarah
mind.
Kustok tweeted out that I retweeted from our account?
No.
Okay, Sarah Kustok tweeted, she was there in the building, and she tweeted out a video of, like, Nets players celebrating, and James Harden, like, comes off the bench and is, like, up, standing around, walking onto the floor, like, stomping and giving KD high fives. You know me, I'm nothing, I'm going to analyze a faraway Twitter video
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and diagnose an injury.
Oh yes.
Do we want to do Twitter Doctor right now? Twitter Doctor segment?
And is there any way to stop you? Is the question.
So the Nets came out and said that Harden had a hamstring tightness, not even a strain, just tightness. And that's been described as that, like, technically it could be a strain. It probably is. I mean, if we want to trace it all the way back, and this is concerning, Harden's original hamstring injury this season was described as tightness. He missed 4 games, I believe it was. Then he played 4 minutes, and then they pulled him, and then he missed a month of basketball because of tightness. So, like, tightness sounds better than strain or pulling or ripping. God forbid a rip.
Don't even say that word.
I won't even rip
Yeah.
it. But he looked good in that Twitter video from Sarah Kustok. And
So you're calling him a faker? Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah.
I think the other thing to say, the amazing benefit of winning 2 games to start the series 2-0 is it does give the Nets a little bit more breathing room to be like,
bit of
Jeff
cushion.
Green,
Yeah.
rest the plantar fascia. James, don't feel the urgency to come back. Like, let's keep. Hopefully, the Nets have 2 more rounds to go. Like, even if they lose Game 3, like, James, you can play basketball later.
Yeah. People are memeing about you in the YouTube chat about your 5-part Achilles series that never came out, and whether you're gonna do one about James Harden and his hamstring.
Yeah, no, they're all going to be together, and it's going to be a 10-part series. It's going to be on HBO Max. I'm excited. I can announce that now.
Wow. The ink is
chat.
the
Fire
ink
up
is
some
dry.
questions, by the way.
Yeah.
we appreciate questions and thoughts. We'd love it all.
Well, Mike, do you want to do this? Do you want to like end the podcast and then go to the stream because we've done like a preview pod, or how do you want to do that?
Yeah, we'll end the pod, but I one last point before we end the pod.
Okay.
Is I do want to give like a special shout out to Kyrie Irving. I know he's listening.
Okay.
Because there's high emotions going into the Celtics series, and that, he didn't play all that well in Game 3, and he played much better in Game 4. But there was this like idea floating around that like Kyrie psychologically isn't ready for the big moment. And what I would like to remind people is that he had one of the greatest shots in NBA history against the Golden State Warriors that brought the Cleveland Cavaliers a championship, a shot that he took while being on the same team as LeBron James. This series, James Harden gets knocked out of Game 1, and the Nets win. Game 2, as you described, Kyrie was amazing. Like, Kyrie was a killer. He hit those big shots that he needed to hit. He took far out threes and had his spectacular drives to the hoop. Like at times when there's the big 3 idea, obviously Harden, when he's on the floor, he's controlling the ball. It's so obvious. The eye is drawn to James Harden at all times. Kevin Durant, when he has the ball, you're seeing things you've never seen before in terms of length and skill and shot-making ability.
Yeah.
Now, Kyrie is like the most spectacular ball handler easily in the NBA right now, and top 4 all time. Top 4.
Top 3.5.
Top 4.
Okay.
Top 4, I think.
I'm ready to hear the other 3 someday, but we'll,
Donald
later.
Sloan.
Right.
No, wait.
Isaiah Whitehead, the spin.
Yeah. Isaiah. That was a devastating move.
Shout
the
out to
Brooklyn
Twitch.
Cyclone.
Yeah.
But like it almost still feels like we didn't recognize that Kyrie had a 35-5 season. I'm pretty sure it was basically what it was. He was incredible tonight, as well as Kevin Durant. But like it was, Kyrie has to step up on and be consistent and be threatening the entire game as he was, because James Harden was out. And he delivered while Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday didn't. And I think when we're talking from a team building thing, and this is going to shift to Sean Marks here, earlier in the season when the Nets had Kyrie and KD, and there was Karras and Jared Allen and Taurean Prince. Oh my God, thank God Taurean Prince isn't on this team in the playoffs. It was, the idea was like, do they really want to trade for Harden? There's only one ball. But the reason why you trade for James Harden, and Zach Lowe has talked about this many times, is that it gives you insurance if one of your stars is hurt. And James Harden is hurt right now. He is the insurance, and he's hurt. It's like flood insurance when you need it. It's never good.
Right,
It's actually more like pet insurance. Pet insurance doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't cover anything besides like some flea and tick gel. But anyways, James Harden's not here.
Yeah.
But the Nets still have two guys on the floor who, over anyone on the Bucks, both Kyrie and KD can get a shot at any point, where no one on the Bucks can do that. And so that's the special quality that this Nets team has. And the Nets aren't going to lose a game for the rest of the playoffs. So that's it.
Middle of the road take, medium spice. No, this game 3 is going to it's a big one here for Milwaukee. I'm not going to freak out if that's that was the game. That was the meme game in Boston. So I've learned my lesson here. I'm not going to lose it. It's going to be stone cold all the way down. And, if they do figure out a way to win, I'll completely second guess everything I know about basketball, because it seems insane right now, based on what I've seen, that they could win that game. But if they do, I'm going to try to keep it even keel, Mike.
Isn't it? And so isn't it just to get a win in Milwaukee? Get one win.
Yeah.
Just get one.
Yeah.
Figure that out. That's all you have to do as the Nets. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun pod.
Go on Apple Podcasts. 5 stars we need them. We want to have them. NotSilly.com, The Athletic. Get yourself behind that paywall, theathletic.com/glueguys. Spotify.
It's a company. Discord. Link to the Discord is in the Twitter bio. Come hang out. That's where that's our, that's the real, that's where we hang. We hang there all day. We talk about God knows, whatever. Anyways, Mike, get us out of here.
We can talk about Eyes Wide Shut in the Discord. I just
Sure.
we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
I did not sleep well. Anyways, thank you so much for listening, Brian.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Bye.
All right, stopping my audio.
But don't worry, guys. We're not actually leaving. That's just for the podcast. Don't forget to save it, Mike. I don't want your computer to overheat.
No. So, I mean, the game itself was just fantastic. I mean, there was nothing like, there was not even a moment where the Bucks really threatened. So it was just pure joy, no anxiety. Amazing.
Okay, now I'm going to bring my chat in here, and we're going to get busy, boys. Things are about to get crazy. Should we do one more link for just for Glue Guys After Dark? Or
Glue Guys After Dark.
Yeah. Shout out to Thomas Miller for the branding. Shout out to Ryan Newman. Do I have to pay to listen to the postgame? No, everything we do is just supported by Roman, by those pills, those delicious pills. John Maraglia, Gregory,
shout out to you.
Eichler.
Come on.
What a game, boys. What a game. We keep it even keel on the podcast, and we save the spicy steaks for this shit, what we're doing here. But let me tell you right now, Mike, we're not losing this game 3, dog. And we're steamrolling whoever the funk comes out of this ridiculous Atlanta series.
Yeah, how did you, we didn't talk about this on the pod, but do you feel better that Atlanta won, or is it a little fear-inducing? What do you think?
It's not. I mean, it's definitely not fear-inducing. I mean, it was like Rafflecopter that they put up a
What's
game.
that?
It's
Look
like
at this, by the way. Yeah.
Rafflecopter. It's like rolling on the floor laughing, but and then turn it into a helicopter.
I thought it was some like German term like Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
I was like,
no, it's just right. It's an American term. Rafflecopter. But I mean, I just mostly enjoyed that the Sixers ate that on the chin.
yes.
I don't know, chat. Does anybody else Does anybody? I don't know. Mike,
Well,
are you
it's
afraid of Atlanta? You're not afraid.
No, I liked it. It's anything to penetrate the confidence.
Yeah, that's mostly what it is. That's mostly what it is. And also, I mean, I have no doubt that the Sixers are gonna probably win that series. I feel like that's one of those things that happens, a gentleman's sweep, maybe potentially situation. I watched some of the game. It seemed like a pretty wild fluke blowout stuff that got really close at the end in a Mimi way. But
yeah, totally crazy.
Yeah, but I'm not super sketched about it. Let's see who's in the chat.
This is definitely it's a weird feeling about this team because, this series was so hyped up. We had talked about it that this was is this the hardest net series, right? And they just game one, even though it was it really wasn't that close. Yeah. Game two was such a blowout from the 5-minute mark on. It was. I mean, it's unusual to It almost feels like there's going to be some swinging of the pendulum moment, right? It just has to be. But I don't know. I mean, Giannis just looks shook, and Middleton has a non-factor. Honestly, Drew Holiday hasn't had a moment in the series.
No, he looks really useless. Samuel Carter, shoutouts. It's petition to have the glue guys on inside the NBA instead of Chuck and Kenny. I watched on shout out to the Twitch stream. Watched that Kenny. So Kenny, here was Kenny's big brain take and Kenny's usually a guy who he of all those dudes has sort of medium spice takes generally. His take was this, Mike, that James Harden being out game one worked to their advantage because the Bucks, their game plan included James Harden, and when he went missing, they couldn't adapt to the new situation without James Harden. That was the take. Does that check out for you? Because I mean, we were talking about it.
That doesn't feel that's a basketball thing.
Yeah.
This isn't like the NFL where the starting quarterback is Peyton Manning and the backup is Michael Vick, and it's a totally different way to play. The Nets are playing different, but they're not as good with if James Harden is a better player than
he's
Mike James,
one of the three best players in the world. And it went completely unchallenged. That's those are the best parts. Everyone's just yeah, all right, I'm with it.
Can we have the Mike James conversation for a second? So you thought you like him better?
I have now.
I like him less.
So that's funny. That's interesting. Let's dig in. Ryan Newman says the Nets' adjustment to losing was Mike James. So we've got some real. So he's the new polarizing dude on the team because there's some straight up Mike James stands out there, and I know Ryan Newman's one of them for sure.
He took Giannis on twice, offensive. Mike James had the ball. Giannis was guarding him, and Mike James was like, "I'm gonna get off the shot."
So
I'm gonna get off this shot.
I'm not
that twice.
Okay, yeah. I'm not arguing that he's changed or he's good or it's better or anything. I'm saying that I've learned to come to peace with the salt and pepper of Mike James. It's
not salt and pepper. It's a ghost pepper. It's all spice. No flavor. He is when
he is at his best, he's a way better playmaker and starter of a offense than Tyler Johnson. Except if he plays more than 40 seconds, he feels himself. He starts rubbing on himself, and then things just get crazy. But
he was he's on the floor with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and he's like, I'm going to take
back,
this contested pull up, fading, awkward shoulder, awkward leg jumper.
Yeah,
and I'm like, Michael, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it, Michael.
Yeah.
It's like when I watch Mayor of Easttown. I know I'm talking about the show a lot. It's like, and you see someone make just a dumb. You're just like, don't do it, Mayor.
Yeah.
Don't curse at your mother in front of your daughter. Don't do it.
That's what that show's about.
Kate Winslet.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Thomas Miller has a perfect take. He feels himself like Zahn and Musa did. There is a little bit of Zahn and Musa in. We had to replace his minutes. We had to replace the Musa minutes somehow, some way. And we lucked out.
Get a ring?
We lucked out and we found him. Great question. Mayor of Easttown, the Mike James story, says Brandon Sangiovanni. Sangiovanni. Thanks everyone for hanging out. How fun is this? Wow.
Yeah, this is great.
That's a real joy. How many IPAs deep are you, Mike? This is like second six pack we're chipping away at.
We're on the hard seltzer at this point.
Oh boy, you got that's gonna be a slow morning tomorrow if I know what a hard seltzer does to you.
Can we talk about Eyes Wide Shut yet, or no? We'll just talk about that later. I'll be offline. But
I can't believe you only just saw Eyes Wide Shut for the first time.
It just wasn't
on your radar,
available to me. You know what I mean? It just like wasn't. Where was I going to watch Eyes Wide Shut until
because of the NC-17 rating? Is that you couldn't?
Was it NC-17?
I feel like there's a meme about this. I can't remember.
To be honest, there's like way more sex in a Game of Thrones episode. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess the whole point of the movie is that like that Tom Cruise doesn't really have sex. It's interesting. Anyways, Nets.
This is Glue Guys After Dark. My God.
You know what I was thrilled about? Alize Johnson.
Nice.
Seeing him on the floor, it just makes me happy.
Yeah.
He's like, just like, sort of like his spikes of athleticism and elbows.
Yeah.
And then Tyler Johnson almost getting a fight with like the blonde hair guy from Fifth Element. I mean,
that guy came out with. I listening to Grant Hill talk about him was really confusing too, because like, so he jumped on the take, was like the entire time Grant Hill was talking about like he was like they need to foul these Nets players super hard and play. You know, they get like this wouldn't happen in that whole shtick, my era stick. Shtick, and then he like was like I forget what that guy's name was, like Diatke or something. I don't know whatever his name is. He like the first angle doesn't look so bad, and the second angle is him like basically fish hooking Tyler Johnson, like Leo DiCaprio fish hooks McGloin in Gangs of New York, the film. Great film. You ever see that one? I actually don't like that. I actually don't like that one that much. Anyways, he fish hooked him, and then Grant Hill's still like, well, I don't support that, but I do. He was just
like hitting, but not that kind of hitting.
Apologia, nothing but it. And so, I mean, I do like Grant Hill, and shout out to Matt Parker, he's defending him. But there was a little bit of cognitive dissonance in that particular take. And I don't like guys who just come in and play for 40 seconds and then foul someone super hard in the face. That I don't love that on any level. You're not like Spicy. You're not gonna like, you weren't there when the game got out of hand. So like, don't that's not your place to ramp it up.
Just to update everyone that is here now, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant did their post game press conference together.
Oh, do we want to watch it?
Beautiful thing. No, well, I guess we could, but it already. I think it must have already happened because, like, the tweets I'm seeing are from a little while ago. Anyways,
shout out Brandalorian says shout out to Daniel Day-Lewis. Big shout out to Daniel Day-Lewis. Big, huge fan. He's a friend of the show. He's a big friend of the show. Love Phantom Thread. How about you ever see Phantom Thread? That's a good one.
I love Phantom Thread.
Do you?
I thought I was the only one. So into that movie.
I like when he orders the breakfast when he's he's like in the countryside and he meets the female lead and the Welsh rarebit sausages.
Paul Thomas Anderson's next movie is like it's like a high school movie.
Oh wow.
In California, in the Boogie Nights area.
Okay.
I'm kind of interested in like PTA. Have a little fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Phantom Thread, great. There Will Be Blood, great. But let's have a little fun. Let your hair loose.
I think he tried to with Inherent Vice, and he realized that part of him is dead now because Inherent Vice is not fun on any level, even though it kind of wants to be.
Yeah, I was expecting to go in and be like, It's gonna be a
Yeah.
druggy trip movie.
Yeah.
And kind of sucks.
Where's Bilge Ebiri when you need him?
That's our guy.
Yeah, Pullman.
That's our movie guy.
I
mean, it's the people in your life you need. As a father, you need a friend who's a pediatrician. You need a person who knows like good recommendations for like movies and TV shows. And then I don't know, what else do you need in your life? A mechanic
I mean, I try to have a guy for everything. You know, I got a guy.
or a girl.
Sure.
I try to.
Yeah, I mean, a guy. The girl can be a guy. That's how I see it.
Yeah, it's a guy.
I do this on work calls nowadays. Like even if it's me and there's 3 other women, I like thanks guys, and I die a little inside when I do it. But I don't know. Is that like I've been living in New York for a long time and everyone's a guy now?
Hey guys.
I'd like to gender neutralize guy. You know, is that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm the glue guys.
Yeah. There you go. Come on.
We're gender neutral. Come on.
There you go. Let's see. Who else is it? Jeff Silber's in the chat. We're just talking about Chris Tucker now. Let's see. Who else is out here.
Are you a Fifth Element fan?
You know, you can catch me in a Fifth Element mood. It's not a always a Fifth Element guy kind of thing. You can miss me with it sometimes. You know, I have an interesting relationship with it. I would say. Wow.
I always liked it. Big fan. It was one of my cousin's favorite movies.
Yeah. And
so we would watch it a lot when I would hang out with my cousin. Still have no clue what happened, but I did you see who was the director, the French director who did that?
Michel Gondry. That's not right. That's not
Isaiah Cordier.
Yeah. I think it was Truffaut, I believe. It was Truffaut.
What receives more hits on Nets Daily, a post Game 2 story or a story about the guy in France who the Nets have the rights to? Still, Isaiah Cordier.
I mean, the real ones are here for that. I know the deep Glue Guys fandom is ready for that.
Killer comparisons, your confidence going into Game 3 to moments in your childhood.
I feel pretty confident. I'll say this. I have a moment of, you know, when I was playing basketball at a park. I don't have a killer instinct by nature, really. You know, in some ways I do, in some ways I don't. But like in physical competition, I'll usually bow out at a certain point.
Well, that's why you need Roman.
That's man. Roman plugs are, anyways. And there was one moment in which
they don't sell plugs.
I had been matched up with such a disrespectful dude at a park. They you know, and I remember.
What was he doing?
He was just like way out of shape, and like, you know, I'm at that point in my life, this is high school, and I was like, you know, pretty good at basketball, and so like, but I did have a history of like, you know, kind of, you know, walking through up until the fourth quarter and then like turning it on. And I remember they you know, they put some like really disrespectfully out of shape dude who like couldn't, and I was like, I just need to whoop on this kid right now. And so I remember like thinking that and then doing it in a way that made me feel like, oh, there's a little bit of that inside me somewhere if the disrespect gets too much. And that's a little bit how I feel about this Buck situation. You know, we have to see the disrespect here, that if they don't adapt, if they don't change anything about what they're doing, and they run that same bullshit at us, it's going to be a stompy situation, I would hope.
Yeah, I really am shocked by how Game 2 turned out. And like it was a blowout that like felt almost more telling than it was, because it wasn't like the Nets were hitting ridiculous shots. They were open and there was ball movement. And like, I can always tell when like announcers don't really, like announcers or basketball podcast people or journalists have never really watched the Nets, because they'll be like, oh, the Nets are too one-on-one and all that stuff. And it's like, what do you watch? I mean, there's so many like beautiful moments within a Nets game. There was like one where I think it was third quarter. I'm just playing with.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is it?
It's like
I thought it was a dreidel. I swear to God, I thought you just busted out a dreidel that was on your desk. I was like, just leaning right into the meme.
Yeah, I'm just. Sorry, gimbal. Shouts to my Jewish audience. Chaim.
For you guys, just for you.
The Jew guys. Another pod that we have.
Nice.
Talk about Shabbat.
Will I make the cut?
There was like a possession in the third quarter where it was like, ball, Joe Harris moves it to Kyrie, moves it to Kevin Durant, moves it, boom, 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 around the perimeter, and it was like an open shot or dunk or whatever. And it was like this. It is uncommon for guys this good individually. Like, you even think about Joe Harris, who, he's always been a team player, but he is the best 3-point shooter in the NBA, or second, however you want to classify it. And yet he's a ball mover,
Mm-hmm.
What could the Bucks do? Dante DiVincenzo not being on the roster or being out really hurts him because he provided flexibility.
I'm actually upset with this meme. The Dante DiVincenzo is a big part of what's happened here. James Harden's only played 43 seconds in this series. This feels like this always happens to the Nets. Be like, we're missing our entire starting lineup, and be like, yeah, but Jimmy Butler just only played the first half. Like, stop. That kind of thing.
I'm excited.
What do you think, guys? Last spicy takes. Fill up the chat. Spiciest take wins the dreidel tonight. Spiciest take wins the dreidel. Dante DiVincenzo is worth 40 points, says Ryan Newman. That's spicy. Nets will sweep, says Luke Gray. That's fairly spicy. Brandalorian's got a year supply of Roman. That is spicy. And the right thing to do, take care of that. Take care of that health.
I mean,
Bud gets fired after game 3. It's incredibly spicy. Yeah, Nets in 3. And then here's a takes. Matt Parker says, seriously, Jeff Green injury really opened up big minutes for Blake. Was Jeff Green in his way?
Yeah, Jeff Green was blocked. Jeff Green should continue to be a bench guy in really cool he has great graphic T-shirts. He should just keep doing that.
Yeah. Alain LaForest says Darren Williams and C.J. Watson are the reason I'm still scared when the Nets had the lead tonight, in all caps.
Do you want to hear a real spicy take that I'm ashamed to admit?
Please, more than anything.
During the third quarter, when the Nets were really extending their lead, and I was thinking okay, this series was supposed to be maybe the toughest series the Nets would have. And that, we were expecting 6-7 games, but this is already heading to 2-0. James Harden's not even playing. He may be back this series potentially. And I was almost thinking well, shit, if the Nets just win in 5 against the Bucks, win in 5 against the Sixers, and then win in 5 against whoever comes out of the West, is that going to be enjoyable? Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
It's going to be enjoyable, but you almost do want the drama and the anxiety of, in hockey, Game 7 in hockey is literally do or die.
Yeah.
And this Nets team without James Harden is firmly stomped down on them Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Bucks treated this badly since Joker burned all that money in The Dark Knight.
Nice. Matt Parker is pretending that he thought of this take before you, saying, a spicy take, winning the ring will feel unsatisfying because of a lack of resistance. But you had already said that, Mike. So Matt Parker is a phony and a fake and a liar. Just kidding, Matt. But that's a good take. I mean, I will say that this season in general has been a lot of those types of feelings. I've talked about our bedazzled mercenaries at some length on the show. And there's some, emotional consequences that come from that. The teams that, I was talking to a Lakers fan recently, and I just kept thinking, he was saying the same thing about the Nets, and I was like, dude, you're a fucking Lakers fan. What are you talking about? But on some level, he was kind of right in that, he's like, I'm used to that. That is my, that's my normal. is finding it in me to root for whole new casts of bedazzled mercenaries, which I guess is the path that we're on now, Mike. And so like we'll have to be rotten to the core forever. I guess we're just on the path to darkness.
Yeah, but I was gonna do this during the pod, but I'll do it here. Shout out to Sean Marks. Because think about this for a moment. Okay, so Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden. Like, yes. Like, those are big stars. They wanted to come here, all that stuff. Joe Harris was a scrap heap dude. Nick Claxton was a second-round pick. Mike James was in Moscow 10 days ago or whatever. He had to move, a first-round pick to target Landry Shamet, and he's worked out. The culture that he built in Brooklyn made Blake Griffin want to be here, along with Kevin Durant, Joe Harris, and Kyrie Irving. I mean, it's like, obviously this team isn't homegrown that everyone obsesses over, but like there's also, it's not just like the full buyout team. Like everyone wants to act like the Nets' entire roster is just like buyout machine.
Yeah.
And they would have been if LaMarcus Aldridge was playing.
Yeah.
Can I be honest, dude? I mean,
I already know what you're gonna say.
No, I'm not gonna say that he kind of would have hurt him in the series, but he would really help in round 3 against Embiid if they could have had him.
You went the other way on that.
Yeah. Because I thought about it, I was like, I don't really want to say something negative. I mean, the heart thing is really scary. And
what are you doing? What is this?
I just want to be nice. Commiserate.
You're commiserating because of your heart.
God.
We'll commiserate with this.
I have a broken heart.
Nick Chaplin says,
"Are you more of a Nicole Kidman or Tom Cruise?"
Like as me myself,
Eyes Wide Shut,
personality wise,
and Eyes Wide Shut.
I'm more of a Nicole Kidman in that I almost always have sex with sailors. Nick Chaplin says LeBron should go play for the Knicks. Is that a hot take, yo? Kind of. That's kind of spicy. That's upper middle class spicy.
You know what's funny is that I have thought about. It's funny. I've thought about that too because it's like
seems like everyone's always thinking about everyone's thing all of a sudden.
When his oldest son Bronny graduates, like whether he goes to the NBA right away, like I don't know how good his son is, but he looked pretty good on a highlight video, a 10-second highlight video. So I was like, he's an NBA player. It does feel very LeBron-ish to also, because he's been to Miami and Cleveland and back to Cleveland, all that fun stuff, and now he's in LA. To be like, I'm gonna play 2 years with the Knicks, and let's say like Chris Paul is there at that point, and it's just like old man banana boat crowd. Dwayne Wade comes out of retirement. It does feel like LeBron, if he's 43 years old and is playing for the Knicks, like he'll see value in that, as will the Knicks, even if he's not good anymore.
Zal13333 says LeBron and Bronny book it.
Would you draft Bronny if he was like Jalen Hands good? Would you draft him with the number 1 overall pick if it got you LeBron?
Would you pull the Thanasis Antetokounmpo move and just try to like lure him in with? How conspicuous is that? Like that they're just.
How do you feel about that?
Is it as obvious as just like we want to like make this your little home away from home to keep you here because you've got no reason to stay in Milwaukee? Is that obvious? It feels just obvious at that point. I would almost be insulted. I'd almost be insulted if I was Giannis.
Well, did you see Blake? It was a game 1. Blake was like talking a lot of shit to Thanasis because Thanasis came in and was like being like overly aggressive and physical. And Blake, I think I couldn't really exactly read lips, but Blake, when the ball was the Bucks on offense and Thanasis went in the corner, and Blake was like, "Yeah," I think he said, "Yeah, stand in the corner because that's all you're gonna do on offense."
Damn,
something like that. And it was like
Blake feisty.
Holy shit, dude.
Poor Thanasis.
What is this, a Friars roast?
I love a roast.
Have you seen Blake Griffin's Alec Baldwin roast?
Somebody was just talking to me about this. I haven't. It's good, huh?
It's like burning down the walls good. It's intense. Good for him.
I like the Andy Samberg of James Franco roast. Have you seen this one? Because that's a
He just
really.
is nice.
I've watched. Yeah, he like roasts the concept of roasting. It's a good meme. All right, last thoughts, guys, and truly, I mean, if you've saved up a spicy take, this is the time to do it. When is Game 3, Mike? It's Thursday. We're gonna do this again, right?
Thursday. Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah. No. Yeah. I just had to check. I'm traveling on Friday, so Thursday.
All right.
We can do Thursday.
All right, guys. Wait, are you guys talking about The Cube? I love that movie. That was a big movie for me.
What's that?
Oh my god, you've never seen it?
No, I think they're talking about the game show, The Cube, that is coming out.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Dwayne Wade's hosting.
All right, bros. Here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna sign off. Thanks, Mike, for having me again.
Brian's gonna send his audio files.
I'm gonna forget to send my audio till tomorrow morning. Just kidding. No, I'm gonna do this right now. I'm gonna do it right now, and I'm gonna give a big Jason Kidd kiss to each and every one of you at the free throw line. A closed palm like this. That's how Jason would do it. Kisses. And for you, Mike, you're my good friend. You're my dear friend, and you get one too. And we're gonna
Sean,
come
good
out.
friend.
Goodbye. A good friend of the pod. Bye, everybody. Bye.